Iran rejects Trump demand for unconditional surrender. Bumjai Thai Party announces withdrawal from Thai coalition government. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. I'm Mohanapriya and you're watching World Today. Deadly violence continues in Gaza with at least 144 Palestinians killed over the past 24 hours following a wave of Israeli airstrikes and artillery fire across the besieged enclave. 33 people were killed and over 100 injured in the latest round of attacks, including a deadly strike in central Gaza where civilians had gathered to receive food aid. Gaza's civil defense says Israeli forces opened fire and launched rockets at a crowd waiting in line for food, killing 11. Israeli military sources claim their troops identified a suspicious group approaching them in what was described as a potential threat. Other strikes targeted residential areas in the Maghazi refugee camp, the Zaytun neighborhood and Gaza City, killing over 20 more. In Khan Yunis, 5 people were reported dead in an attack on a tent shelter. Medical teams also confirmed 14 civilians were shot dead along Gaza's main humanitarian route, the Salahuddin Road, as they waited for aid trucks. Since aid deliveries resumed in late May, over 397 Palestinians have reportedly been killed while attempting to collect food, with more than 3,000 injured. Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei rejected U.S. President Donald Trump's demand for unconditional surrender on Wednesday. In a recorded speech aired on television, Khamenei, 86, warned Washington that any U.S. military intervention will undoubtedly be accompanied by irreparable damage.
ما تعرض به کسی نکردیم و البته آمریکایی‌ها اونهایی که با سیاست‌های این منطقه آشنا هستند می‌دانند که ورود آمریکا در این قضیه 100% به ضرر اوست. اونچه که او در این زمینه ضربه خواهد خورد به مراتب بیشتر است از اونچه که ایران ممکنه صدمه بخوره. صدمه آمریکا اگر ورود در این میدان بشه، ورود نظامی در این میدان بکنه، صدمه جبران ناپذیری خواهد بود بدون تردید.
Trump has fueled speculation about U.S. intervention, saying Wednesday that his patience had run out with Iran, but that it was still not too late for talks. He later said he has not yet made a decision on whether to join Israel in bombing Iran and warned that the country's current leadership could fall as a result of the war. A day earlier, Trump had boasted that the United States could assassinate Khamenei, but would not do so for the time being. Benjamin Netanyahu thanked Trump for his support in defending Israel's skies on Wednesday, calling him a great friend of Israel. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi insisted that his country remains committed to diplomacy, even as it acts in self-defense against Israel. Now, France is planning, along with European partners, to suggest a negotiated solution to end the conflict between Iran and Israel. At a National Security Council meeting, French President Emmanuel Macron ordered Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot to draw up an initiative with close European partners to propose negotiated settlement to put an end to the conflict. Barrot has been in regular touch with his German and British counterparts since Israel launched massive airstrikes against Iran on Friday. All 3 countries were involved in talks that led to a landmark 2015 nuclear deal between Iran and world powers to curb Tehran's nuclear activities in exchange for relief from sanctions. The United States withdrew from that accord during President Donald Trump's first term. Macron also urged Israel to end strikes on targets in Iran not linked to nuclear activities or ballistic missiles. He voiced concern over the current escalation, with Israeli strikes increasingly hitting targets not linked to Iran's nuclear or ballistic program, and a mounting number of civilian victims in Iran and Israel. The French president also urged the foreign ministry to take measures to help French citizens leave Israel or Iran if they wish to do so. Now, tensions in West Asia continue to escalate, with China voicing deep concern over the intensifying conflict between Israel and Iran. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi warned that the situation risks from spiraling out of control, urging immediate efforts towards a ceasefire to avoid plunging the region into chaos. The warnings come as Israel and Iran exchange fire for a sixth straight day, raising fears of a prolonged and destabilizing regional war. China is calling on international actors to prevent a further escalation amid growing diplomatic pressure to halt the violence. Meanwhile, the United States has taken a harder line, demanding Iran's surrender, and with President Donald Trump on Wednesday saying Washington may still take part in the conflict. Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei has vowed not to back down, issuing stern warnings to Washington. Israel, for its part, claims to have struck key targets in Tehran, including Iran's internal security headquarters. Russian President Vladimir Putin said a deal to end the fighting between Israel and Iran is still possible, and he is offering Russia's help to make it happen. Putin criticized Israel's recent strikes on Iran, saying the attacks have had the unintended effect of uniting the Iranian people behind their leadership. In an interview with local media, the Russian leader firmly rejected the idea of any assassination attempt on Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, calling the notion unthinkable.
На сегодняшний день в Иране, при всей сложности происходящих там внутриполитических процессов, мы об этом знаем, и, я думаю, нет смысла углубляться, но все-таки происходит консолидация общества вокруг политического руководства страны.
Putin also floated a potential diplomatic path forward, one that would safeguard Israel's security while supporting Iran's pursuit of a civilian nuclear program. He revealed that more than 200 Russian technicians are currently working at Iran's Russian-built Bushehr nuclear facility. Moscow, he said, remains open to expanding nuclear cooperation with Tehran strictly for peaceful purposes. Meanwhile, U.S. President Donald Trump dismissed Putin's offer, saying Russia should focus on ending its war in Ukraine before stepping in elsewhere. Now, Japan is preparing to evacuate around 90 of its nationals and their family members from Iran by land as early as Thursday, amid growing fears of a wider conflict between Tehran and Tel Aviv. Now, Tokyo is also considering deploying a self-defense forces transport aircraft to its base in Djibouti, East Africa, to be on standby in case further evacuations are needed. According to government sources, the evacuation plan involves moving Japanese citizens out of Tehran by bus headed toward neighboring Azerbaijan, as airports in the region remain closed due to escalating tensions. Efforts are also underway to arrange overland evacuations for Japanese citizens in Israel, with plans to move them into neighboring Jordan. On Tuesday, Japan raised its travel advisory for all of Iran to the highest level 4, urging its citizens to leave the country immediately and avoid all travel. The Foreign Ministry says approximately 280 Japanese nationals are currently in Iran. Thailand's Bumja Thai party announced its withdrawal from the coalition government on Wednesday, citing dissatisfaction with the government actions affecting Thai sovereignty. Bumja Thai, the second largest party in the ruling coalition, stated that all its 8 ministers have submitted their resignations effective today. The party accused Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra of damaging conduct following a leaked phone conversation with Cambodia's Senate President Hun Sen. It said the call, reportedly addressing an ongoing border dispute, including remarks in which the Prime Minister allegedly blamed her own military for miscommunication. Bumja Thai described this as an affront to Thailand's dignity, national pride, its people and the armed forces. The party also called on Prime Minister Paetongtarn to take take responsibility for actions it claims have harmed Thailand's national interests. Bomjam Thai holds 69 seats in the parliament and has been responsible for 4 ministerial portfolios, including the Interior Minister, Labour Minister, Education Minister, and the Higher Education, Science, Research and Innovation Minister. Following Bomjai Thai's withdrawal, the Pheu Thai-led coalition of 13 parties retains 292 seats in parliament. Despite the withdrawal, the coalition government still commands a majority in the 500-seat House of Representatives. In Myanmar, former leader and democracy icon Aung San Suu Kyi marks her 80th birthday today behind bars as she continues to serve a 27-year sentence under the military junta. Once the face of Myanmar's democratic transition, Suu Kyi was arrested during the 2021 military coup and convicted on multiple charges from corruption to breaching COVID-19 protocols. Convictions critics say are politically motivated. Her son, Kim Aris, is running 80 kilometers over 8 days to honor her birthday, collecting over 80,000 messages of support. But with no contact for 2 years, he says the family has no idea about her health or well-being. While she remains respected by many in Myanmar, her global standing diminished over her defense of the military during the Rohingya crisis. Today, attention to her plight is far more muted. The junta claims Suu Kyi is in good health, but her son fears otherwise, citing possible untreated medical conditions. Myanmar's military has pledged elections by year's end, but with many of Suu Kyi's former supporters now taking up arms, the country's future and her role in it remains uncertain. Coming up next, U.S. Federal Reserve holds interest rates for 4th straight meeting. Stay tuned. Mexican security forces found a clandestine tunnel on Wednesday in the border city of Tijuana that connects to San Diego in the United States. Now, these underground passages are often used by criminals for human and drug trafficking along the approximately 3,100-kilometer border between the two countries. According to a statement from the Federal Security Secretariat, the tunnel, 350 meters long, was located by soldiers and police inside a house where various doses of methamphetamine were also found. Laureano Carrillo, Security Secretary of the state of Baja California, said the operation was carried out in coordination with U.S. authorities. In January, security forces from both countries discovered a clandestine tunnel that connected Ciudad Juarez with El Paso in the state of Texas. The Mexican government has increased arrests and drug seizures amid threats from U.S. President Donald Trump to impose tariffs on Mexico, claiming the neighboring country allows the entry of drugs and undocumented migrants into U.S. territory. Hurricane Eric barreled down on Mexico's Pacific coast Wednesday, having strengthened to a powerful Category 3 storm, warning of potentially deadly floods. Now, the hurricane is expected to strengthen before making landfall, bringing with it storm surges, coastal flooding and destructive waves. Eric was moving northwest at a speed of nearly 15 kilometers per hour with maximum sustained winds approaching 195 kilometers per hour and higher gusts. Forecasters warned of intense rainfall across the Mexican states of Oaxaca and Guerrero, bringing life-threatening floods and mudslides. Mexican authorities say they are also expecting heavy rain in Chiapas state. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum urged people to avoid going out and advised those living in low-lying areas or near rivers to move to shelters. In Acapulco, police with bullhorns walked the beach and drove around town, warning residents and holidaymakers of the storm's arrival. Some 2,000 temporary shelters have been set up in Chiapas, Guerrero, and Oaxaca, and hundreds of troops and electricity workers have been deployed to help in any cleanup effort. Local authorities have suspended classes and closed ports along the coast, including the port of Acapulco, to shipping. Mexico sees major storms every year, usually between May and November, on both its Pacific and Atlantic coasts. A strong earthquake with a preliminary magnitude of 6.1 struck off the southeastern coast of the Nemuro Peninsula in Japan earlier today. There were no immediate reports of injuries or significant damage, and no tsunami warning was issued. Japan Meteorological Agency JMA reported that the epicenter was located at a latitude of 42.8 north and longitude of 146.4 east. Meanwhile, the United States Geological Survey, USGS, recorded the quake as a magnitude 5.9 event, occurring at around 11 p.m. on Wednesday, approximately 107 kilometers southeast of Nemuro. Earlier, Hong Kong Airlines scaled back its flights to southern Japan following a decline in passenger demand linked to an online rumor predicting a massive earthquake. The rumor, which has gained traction on social media, claims that a devastating earthquake will strike Japan in July 2025, a prediction said to originate from a manga comic titled The Future I Saw by Japanese artist Ryo Tatsuki. As a result of reduced interest in travel to the region, the airline reportedly plans to suspend flights to popular destinations Kagoshima and Kumamoto during July and August. In response to the growing panic, the Japan National Tourism Organization has clarified that there is no scientific evidence supporting the rumor and urged travelers not to be misled by unfounded predictions. The U.S. Federal Reserve is holding interest rates steady for the fourth straight meeting, signaling a cautious stance as inflation remains high and economic growth slows. The central bank left its benchmark rate unchanged at 4.25 to 4.5%, even as it raised its inflation outlook and lowered projections for economic growth this year. Fed Chair Jerome Powell stressed that the Fed will take more time to assess the full impact of President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs and the growing global uncertainty before making any rate moves.
The Federal Open Market Committee decided to leave our policy interest rate unchanged. We believe that the current stance of monetary policy leaves us well positioned to respond in a timely way to potential economic development.
Officials still anticipate 2 rate cuts by the end of 2025, but divisions are emerging inside the Fed, with fewer members now confident those cuts will happen this year. The decision is likely to stir fresh criticism from Trump, who had repeatedly demanded more aggressive action to support the economy. In its updated forecast, the Fed now sees slower GDP growth and higher unemployment, in part due to Trump's new 10% tariffs on nearly all U.S. trading partners introduced in April. Microsoft is prepared to abandon its high-stakes negotiations with OpenAI over the future of its alliance. Now, the tech giant has considered pausing discussions with the ChatGPT maker if the two sides remain unable to agree on critical issues such as the size of Microsoft's future stake in OpenAI. The company plans to rely on its existing commercial contract to maintain access to OpenAI's technology until 2030. OpenAI executives have considered accusing Microsoft of anti-competitive behavior in their deal, adding that both companies are discussing revising the terms of Microsoft's investment, including the future equity stake it will hold in the AI startup. In a statement, the company said talks are ongoing and both are optimistic to continue to build together for years to come. Microsoft's multi-billion US dollar investment into OpenAI has been a key factor in positioning it as a leading player in the artificial intelligence space. OpenAI requires approval from Microsoft, its major backer, to complete its transition into a public benefit corporation, which it believes will make it easier to raise more capital. Starting off our sports segment this afternoon, the national men's hockey squad ended their SAHIH 2025 Nations Cup Group B campaign with a hard-fought 2-1 win over Japan. But it wasn't enough to book a place in the semi-finals. With both Malaysia and Pakistan level on 4 points, it was the goal difference that gave Pakistan the edge to join Group B winners New Zealand in the Final Four. Despite the win at the National Hockey Stadium in Bukit Jalil, the Speedy Tigers needed a 2-goal winning margin to leapfrog Pakistan into second place. That hope was dashed when Koji Yamasaki found the net in the 55th minute, trimming Malaysia's lead and effectively sealing their fate. Malaysia, under the guidance of head coach Sarjit Singh, started on the front foot, dominating the first half and scoring twice through Nur Shafiq Sumantri and Muhajir Abdul Rauf. The second half saw a shift in momentum as Japan clawed back into the match, mounting pressure and frustrating Malaysia's attempts to extend their lead. Their efforts paid off late in the game, with Yamasaki's strike sealing Malaysia's group stage exit. Malaysia will now battle it out in the classification round for 5th to 8th place, with a showdown against South Africa set for this Friday. On to Club World Cup developments. Manchester City began their campaign with a comfortable 2-0 victory over Morocco's Wydad Casablanca in the Group G opener on Wednesday, courtesy of first-half goals from Phil Foden and Jeremy Doku. Now, despite fielding a second-string side, City needed less than 2 minutes to break the deadlock. 8th minute. Chelsea winger Mikhailo Mudryk has been charged by England's Football Association with violating anti-doping rules after failing a drugs test. Now, the Ukraine international could face a potential ban of up to 4 years under FA rules. Mudryk had not played for Chelsea since 28th November following his provisional suspension by the FA for an adverse finding in a routine urine test in December. The Ukraine international at the time said he was in complete shock and he never knowingly used any banned substances. Chelsea launched their own investigation into the doping allegation last year and had been waiting for the results of the B sample test to support or contradict the initial A results. Earlier this month, Mudryk's number 10 shirt was given to Cole Palmer for next season, leaving the Ukraine international without a squad number at Stamford Bridge. Signed from Shakhtar Donetsk in January 2023, Mudryk was reported to have had the prohibited performance-enhancing substance meldonium in his positive test. Mudryk last featured in the Chelsea squad as an unused substitute for their 3-0 Premier League win against Aston Villa on the 1st of December. And moving on to tennis, British second seed Jack Draper defeated Alexei Popyrin 3-6, 6-2, 7-6 to reach the quarterfinals of the Queen's Club Championships on Wednesday. Now, Draper won their only previous meeting when he beat Popyrin in straight sets earlier this year on his way to reach the Qatar Open final, but faced a much tougher battle this time. Draper found himself trailing when the Australian broke to lead 5-4 and served out to win the opening set, but the 23-year-old Briton was unfazed and won 4 consecutive games to take the second set. In the decider, Draper held 2 match points with Popyrin serving, but the Australian rallied to win 4 unanswered points to make it 5-5. In the tiebreak, Popyrin broke first and Draper responded. The Briton made the decisive break to lead 6-5 and smashed his 10th ace of the match to earn a hard-fought victory. Draper will face American Brandon Nakashima after he defeated British wildcard Dan Evans 7-5, 7-6 to reach back-to-back quarterfinals on grass after his recent run at the Stuttgart Open. Meanwhile, Czech Jakub Mensik crashed out after his 3-6, 6-3, 7-5 loss to Bautista Agut, receiving a code violation warning for unsportsmanlike conduct at one stage. The Czech 19-year-old was 3-1 down in the second set, and after failing to convert a breakpoint, he smashed his racket on the ground, which then slipped from his hands and flew into the stands, where luckily there were plenty of empty seats. The experienced Bautista Agut now meets Danish fourth seed Holger Rune, who stormed back after losing the opening set to beat American qualifier Mackenzie McDonald to 6-6-1, 6-1. The Bus family is entering an agreement to sell a majority stake in the Los Angeles Lakers, marking the end of an era for one of the NBA's most influential owners. Now, Walter, already an established figure in LA sports, has existing shares in MLB team Los Angeles Dodgers and WNBA franchise the Los Angeles Sparks. Mark Walter, the CEO and chairman of holding company TWG Global, is set to take the majority ownership under the agreement, which values the Lakers at $10 billion, making it the largest ever sale of a professional sports team. The late Jerry Buss purchased the Lakers in 1979 and turned it into one of the most popular franchises in all of professional sports, winning 5 championships during their now iconic Showtime era in the 1980s. His daughter Jeannie Buss took over as principal owner after Jerry died in 2013, making her one of the most powerful women in sports. According to ESPN report, Jenny Buss will stay on as governor after the sale. And that's it from us this afternoon. In our top story today, Ali Khamenei rejects Trump demand for unconditional surrender. Do join us again this evening for more news on TV1 and Saluran Berita RTM, or you can stream us live on RTM Click's website and mobile app. Till then, I'm Mohana Priya, Malaysia MADANI, Rakyat Disantuni. Goodbye and thank you for watching.